conference will now be recorded.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item, do we have any new guests this morning, new members? A lot of no names. Okay. Like to have a motion of approval of previous minutes as written, as distributed.
I move.
I'll second it. Any opposed? Motion carried.
I'm muted.
Gail, we're ready for a treasurer's report if you are.
Yeah. Good morning. For the month of September, we had expenditures of $13,067.30. This includes the normal utility bills, officer and committee budgeted reimbursements, along with payments to road and flow. They mow our common areas. Martin Plumbing LLC fixed the clubhouse water leak. I'll talk a little bit about that in just a short while. They had to replace a pressure regulator and a shut-off valve and about 10 foot of piping. A&S Tree and Landscaping, they removed 10 diseased trees from the common areas, and they ground the stumps, trimmed the lower limbs on some other trees, shortened the top of one tree, cleaned up all the areas, hauled all the debris away. We finished the month with balances of $1,835.86 in our checking account and $178,514.31 in our savings account. This includes $31,702.90 that is obligated to the financial reserve fund. So far in this fiscal year of 25-26, we have received 94.6% of our budgeted income and spent 46.7% of our budgeted expenses. Any questions? Some of you may not know that we had a fantastic water leak last month here at the clubhouse. And we pay, I think it's $5 a month we pay to the Crossville City Water Department for their leak insurance. It's helped us out now. This is the second time. So anyway, I initiated that with them, and they have concluded that our 12-month average prior to the leak was $34.37 a month for just the water part. What they do is they calculate that the total bill for that month was $213.06. That's a long way from $35, okay? So anyway, the water leak relief that the insurance company will pay back is $178.69. So we'll end up only paying that $34.37 for the month of September. And what they do is they will credit our account. So for like about maybe 3 or 4 months, we'll have $0 for water for the clubhouse. Back in 23, I forget what month, but we had a real serious water leak. It was over $1,000 something, just a water leak alone. And so we went for about 10, 11 months, but didn't pay a cent for the water bill. So that was pretty neat. So anyway, that's all done and in the mail. Okay. And I look for the next like I said, about 3 or 4 months of the water bill being zero for the clubhouse board. Any questions on that? Thank you.
Thank you for taking the insurance.
Move we accept the treasurer's report pending audit.
Okay. I'll second it.
So moved. Committee reports will all be attached to the minutes as they normally are,
Yes.
unless there's anyone here who is the committee's chairman that wants to give a verbal report. Apparently not. Well, as Gail stated in his treasurer's report, the dead and diseased trees have now been removed. The cost was as forecast by, or as indicated by the company that did all the work. The spillway washout was taken care of by the city. I think all in all, I think they did a pretty good job of making the spillway look halfway decent again. There's still a underdrain under one of the streets that they're going to address. I have to get with the city streets commissioner again and make sure that our supervisor, make sure that we get that taken care of. I think all the committee chairs need to have their budget requirements in. In fact, they should have been in by now. I think the 10th was the cutoff date. Dale informed me that he has all but one, and that one is on the road traveling. I understand it's kind of difficult for him to put together a budget request. And we are ready to proceed to our first budget meeting of the board to formulate the requirements for next year's budget. Next item is I'd like to update the info about property transfers of 2 properties in the Holly Tree area. They're the 2 green space, I'll say drainage areas off of Holly Tree going towards the wetlands by the bypass road. Both of those properties are in the process of getting necessary approvals and permits and surveys in order to get those transferred to private individuals. So that should take care of any maintenance on those properties. The 4 property owners adjoining those 2 spaces have graciously agreed. In fact, they wanted to buy them when they built their houses, but they weren't available at that time. So that's the end of that one. The next item on the list is the probability of DCCR changes. And this is only regarding phases 6, 7, and 8. There's 2 contentious DCR clauses, or articles, I should say, that we know the property owners have been disgruntled or upset over. And we've been in touch with Tim. We've been in several meetings with him. And I think the final wording of the changes to those 2 DCR articles are finalized. We probably will not be sending them out for a vote until around the 1st of the year. Hopefully get it done before the May annual meeting. There was a question brought up about a pedestrian bridge at the end of the Gardens Drive. Somebody, could you tell what the changes are we on the DCR? Yeah, sure. The phase 6, 7, and 8, Articles 10, which has to do with signs on the property, and Article 15, which has to do with the requirements for a authorized realtor. And I think the phase 8 actually specifically says that you have to use the Gardens RV Gardens Realty LLC. Some of that's being relaxed.
Oh.
So,
Yeah, there's other signs.
I'm sorry?
I said there's other realtors up there that have signs up there, not the garden.
One, yeah.
Yeah, there's the only one.
Only one.
Okay.
That realtor was given permission by the developer the developer reserves the right to assign his rights. Okay? So he has done that.
Thanks to you, Ed, for all the work on the DCCR changes.
I think it'll pay off in the end. Back to the walking bridge, it was brought up by a member that they thought the floor of the bridge had a safety issue, that it may not be safe for people to walk across. Dave Gibbon and myself went up, and Dave actually crawled under the bridge. And we both looked at it from every angle that we could. I couldn't get underneath it, but he did. At this time, I'm willing to tell you that there's only 2 floorboards that are in question. And the aluminum sign that's laying over the top of those 2 boards is a bigger trip hazard than the 2 boards are. If anyone was to wear tall spiked heels and step in just exactly the right place, it might break a heel or fall down. Other than that, I don't really see a major problem with that bridge. It's constructed very, very well. The next item I had on here was,
Do those boards need to be replaced?
yes, and Don Homer did offer to get together, maybe get a couple of people and replace those boards. They will need to be replaced, just how soon is, it's not gonna fall through tomorrow. Next item I had on here was to give Dick a chance to tell us about the new technology for these virtual meetings. If there's something you'd like to share, Dick.
We'll get some feedback from this meeting. There's a new camera up here that articulates. I have a camera operator here, Bruce is practicing. We also have a new speaker system up in the front. The intention is to expand that and to perhaps put a TV back for the audience to view remote speakers and also to see what they're seeing, so we'll know. And then that TV over there will be for the board to be able to see remote people coming in. There will be we're gonna add a new computer. We don't have a computer in here now. We're gonna add another computer up there so that that TV up there will become a real bulletin board. Periodically, people send for distribution posters of different events that are occurring in the neighborhood, plays and different ones, and it's almost always something graphical. We'll have the capability of doing that up here and having a community bulletin board of things that are going on for people that come into here, and that can be moderated remotely. So it isn't a lot of overhead for everybody. That's as far as we thought ahead. I haven't turned in an expense thing for it yet. I apologize. I didn't do it. But I will turn in a probability of how much it's cost. But honestly, most of the equipment's been donated. So we're probably in good shape.
You plan to be at the first budget meeting, okay?
Pardon me?
You plan to be at the first budget meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't know I was supposed to turn one in ahead of time.
Thank you, Dick. Speaking of that, I was asked by a couple of our board members about a budget item for the coffee and donuts on a monthly Saturday morning, or a Saturday morning during the month. I don't think that we need a budget line item for that small amount. I believe it can come out of our supplies line item, but then
There's some something prohibiting budget use for donuts.
You do one of the policies, right?
It ain't in the DCR.
I think we can handle that out of our expense budget.
Do you have anything how people eat donuts?
Only you did this.
Just make sure at the budget meeting, we increase that line item.
Okay, we'll do that.
Office expenses.
For the meeting?
Well, the holiday
We have one meeting a month, actually it's not a meeting, we have a coffee and donuts, try out one Saturday morning per month, where 1 or 2 or 6 board members can be here and meet with any members that you
have a local advertising.
Yes,
Is there a date for that, like the third Saturday or something, or is
nothing has been set in concrete. I think
that
that-
newsletter goes out and lets us know?
You'll get an email.
You'll get an email, yes.
Let's say donuts.
And as far as I know, that concludes old business unless somebody has something they need to add. Anybody? Okay, new business. Our social committee chairperson has sent in her resignation. And we are looking for a new chairperson for the social committee. How many volunteers do we have from the audience? Oh,
Gee.
I will say, though, the social committee has a really awesome group, and I just does such a terrific job every month.
Well, who is it? Who is it now?
nobody now.
Sylvia.
Sylvia was the chair.
Sylvia has been for years.
The social committee has, I think, close to 15 members. And what they've been doing in the past few months is a couple of the ladies or persons on the committee have taken a month and they'll set up the social for that month. I like that idea. It's great. It works well. But we still have to have someone who takes care of the books and
Scheduling.
and makes a report back to the board. If we can't get a social chair, we may look at the socials going away.
Well, or maybe there are people who would be willing to do a co-chair situation or something like that.
Chair, co-chair, either way.
And we need to thank Sylvia for many years of doing a very good
We do appreciate her
for years.
very much, yes. She's done a terrific job. I guess we have nobody stepping forward. Nobody online is stepping forward. I see no hands up. The next item on the new business, our ponds chairman, Dave Deming, has modified the 3 existing ponds that have fountains in them down here. He's done quite a bit of work to get them to work the way they're supposed to work, on timers and lights and everything working in unison. This past week, he and his associate rewired all 3 of these cabinets on the east, west, and north pond, so that in the wintertime, when the temperature drops below a preset point, outdoor air temperature that is, the fountains will come on and stay on until that temperature rises above freezing. This is in an effort to make sure that the ponds don't freeze around the fountain and cause damage to the fountain pumps. The west pond and the north pond are the 2 that we're most concerned about. Those fountains are built by a company in Florida where it doesn't freeze. So we don't know what it would do to those fountains. The two fountains that are in the East Pond are built by a company in northern Wisconsin. And we know that they know what freeze is. And as past working on the fountains myself with other people, those old fountains over there, the pump itself or the motor is 8 to 10 inches below water. It's not going to freeze. It's not going to hurt it. Because all it is a motor with a propeller on the end of it, stood up on it, and a huge filter on the bottom of it. But anyway, this is in an effort to protect the fountains, to make sure that they don't freeze and damage. Both manufacturers do recommend that the fountains stay in the water year round, instead of pulling them out and letting them dry, sit dry. So wanted to be sure to thank David and his associate for taking care of all that. Next up is the architectural committee. Eva, I'm going to turn this over to you.
Okay, one of the things that we have been working hard on is to come up with a fencing policy that actually, we really try to thread the needle between the pro-fence groups and the anti-fence groups to try to come up with something that was going to be semi-acceptable to everybody. So here's some copies if you want to pass those out and pass those around. And you'll see at the top of this, it says fences version 4, to give you an idea of like how we have struggled with this and worked with this over the last, 2 months or so. And I think one important thing is we're going to say that all existing fences, as of whatever date the board approves this policy, will be grandfathered. So we're not going to ask anyone to tear down their fences for being non-compliant. I think one other interesting point I want to bring up is that Liz did some work with the building codes, and there's no building code for fences unless the fence is going to be 7 feet or higher. So I have a feeling there might be a lot of non-compliant fences in the gardens that are over 7 feet high where they didn't get a building permit. But anyway, all that aside, did we get enough copies to go around? Okay, then I don't think I need to read this. I will send a copy of this to Sherry, yes, please, so that she can include it in the minutes. And that'll be that. I think one of the important things is at the end, because I heard some complaints from some people, maintenance of the fence in the area inside as well as the exterior fence will be the responsibility of the homeowner to be maintained. Because apparently there are some fences where they let weeds grow up along the fence. And also too, in order to prevent that, because Eva was saying that some of the lawn care folks have big equipment that there's asking for a 6-foot gate. So because some of them have trouble fitting through a 4-foot gate.
Yeah. And the other thing I want to bring up is some other research that Liz has done.
Just comment on the 6-foot gate too. One of the other things too is that there have been issues in the not here, other places where access getting in emergency situations, a fire and rescue, that a small first-level gate is not adequate, and they would, a larger gate allows them to get in a lot easier to get, if you have to get somebody out easier.
Good point.
But anyway, allows for easier access for those types of purchases as well.
And then I was going to say some of the research that Liz did, while all of our DCRs, whatever phase you're in, they all say no fences, but as you read through them, they all have a little bitty, well, it's not a little bitty clause, it's got a lot of words to it, but essentially what that clause says in each of the DCRs is with an architectural request and the approval of 3 members of the architectural committee, you can build a fence.
Yeah. Plus a lot of other stuff.
Well, the other thing is that because of the situation that we're in today, where we have multiple fences of multiple types throughout the garden, your hands are kind of tied about what to do. You can't ignore it. And you can't say you can't have a fence when this guy's got a fence. So we have to come up with something that, like Steve said, they worked hard to try to make it palatable to both sides of the issue, so. I
Yeah,
guess-
and the other thing I want to bring up is if you have a house that's facing the ponds or the common areas, it's kind of like that is going to have to be handled on a case-by-case basis, because we don't want to spoil the view for everybody else that's facing that pond.
One of your roommate contests of you having a fence, what is the issue there?
Well, the architectural request one. Okay.
Okay, name is Bob Moore, 89 Gardensview Drive. What if your roommate contests of you having a fence, which is blocking the view, they don't like the idea of having a fence, should you have to get the roommate's approval to have a fence?
Yes.
Why?
They say no.
The reason that was put in the policy as it exists was if something was common between the exterior of the house. In other words, like replacing roof. Okay? If the other, if the roommate didn't agree to replace the roof at that time, okay, then they had to have the signature to explain that, okay? To allow that to happen. That's why that policy was put in place. I don't understand though, the fences, what's the neighbor got to say about it? It's his yard.
Okay, the second thing is, if you're coming into the gardens and you're coming past our clubhouse, and you're just past the east and the west pond, the people on the left there have exposure to put a fence up to the road. It's like the beauty of like the gardens is gone.
They can't put a fence up, that's common area.
No, it is
You
not.
know, where?
Like along where
There's two properties in phase one that are not common area.
Oh, yeah.
That's the ones you're talking about.
So let's say that those two want to put up a fence and they're both different fences. Okay, coming into the gardens is the beauty of seeing the trees and seeing the open area. And now you're gonna have a fence.
Maybe.
So that's another issue too that nobody's looking at. I really think that there should be a vote on who wants fences and who don't want fences. Okay, I mean, it's just the way it was. This was supposed to be a no fence community and it has just blossomed into kind of do what you want to do.
No, if you read the DCRs, it doesn't say that. And you have to read the whole paragraph and all of it. It basically says, you know, it says no fences. But then if you read all the way through it, all you have to do is submit a request to the architectural committee to get approval. It's the same thing on any type of other architectural item. You have to submit a request to other items too, if you're going to add an addition or do other things. But you have to go through an approval process. I think that topics, we can't resolve all of the issues in one set of guidelines. It's going to have to be left up to the committee to use some, what I call common sense judgment on how to administer it. If you try to put everything in there, you end up with nothing. And of course, at this point in time, it's, you know, first off, fences are all over the place. They're all different types. They're here. They're not going to go away. So it's one of those things where we need to rely on the architectural committee to administer it and try to address issues as they come along. To try to write a policy to cover all of them, it's not going to ever work that way.
Well, you know, most fences now are actually on a site. I mean, there's not too many that you can see unless you're actually looking for it. I mean, they're behind the house. I mean, maybe other neighbors are gonna see it, but from the street view, you don't. Okay, but there are properties in here that you cannot help but see a fence if it was put up. Because it's just out in like the open, or it's between homes that you can see off of the street. So,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
what's that?
Believe me, we had people on the board playing devil's advocate. I kept arguing with that. That's why we really decided that we were gonna recommend one kind of fence, a black metal fence that hopefully was going to disappear as much as possible so that there weren't a lot of different fences. Because we're aware, I mean, we're trying to please everybody and, you know, it's hard, but, you know, there are areas like that. There are areas like my backyard around North Pond that, you know, that are all exposed like that too. And it's gonna be dictated by how much, you know, property people own as to how much fence they can put in. And some places unfortunately are, you know, do have bigger spaces. But also bear in mind, not everybody's gonna go out and get a fence. I mean, you know, as much as, you know, in sections 1 through 5, a lot of people aren't in favor of them.
That's all I have to say on the subject, but I think that's what most of the people are here for. They've come to the gardens, they've stayed up on Homeless Hill, and they have walked the streets here, and they have saw like the beauty of it. And then when you're gonna start putting things in where things don't belong, okay, you know, then that's a whole nother issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Question on, the people. George Mandel and Victory House Circle. My question is on people that have existing wooden fences that are not permitted if this goes through. If their fence got rotten, had to be replaced, would they then be ordered to use the black metal fences?
I would think so.
Because now if they have to replace it, they gotta be basically up to code or whatever our policy is.
That probably needs to be added.
Okay.
Is there a situation that you,
No, but I'm just saying years down the road, if some of these wooden fences get rotten
We do have a lot of.
and, you know, they gotta be replaced. So when you gotta replace it, just like when you build a house, you gotta be up to code. So according to our policies, they should be replaced with what was required in our policy.
The only thing I can think of is that when a fence, like say, one section of the fence gets rotten, but you have 7 sections. Do we require the person to tear down the other 7?
Well,
I think this is just.
maybe put in there over 50%.
Yeah, some kind of a, yeah.
But I think that to try to eliminate, personally, I don't like the wooden fencing. And I think that if it's more than 50%, let's say that's got to be repaired, then it needs to be replaced by the correct standards.
trying to place, where's any wooden fences?
There's 2, at least 2 or 3 wooden fences in here.
And where?
Howard Shaker's got one,
That is a privacy
but
fence.
you can still use a regular fence instead of wooden fence.
It will not meet the requirements of the proposed paper.
What do you mean?
A 4-foot fence will not suffice.
Okay, well, then maybe make it standard of a 6-foot metal fence. Okay, and there's other fences in there that are wooden fences.
If you're starting down the same road of trying to pick and choose, you can't administer something that way. If you're gonna do that, it's just gonna create more issues. You have to allow.
I'm just trying to keep everything constant with what our policies are.
No, that's picking and choosing individual actions, and that's just not appropriate. You should allow the committee to look at the issues and.
It's just an observation that I have personally, that's all.
I understand,
Thank
George.
you.
Thank you.
Is there a reason why it's 6 feet? I mean, most people got little tiny dogs, you know? I mean, 4 feet seems like high enough for me.
The paper that was handed out specifically states not to exceed 4 feet.
Yes, it is.
And question, did the proposal, did the proposal get broad distribution to the community?
It will when it's attached to the minutes.
It's gonna be attached.
It won't be read as much as if you, why don't you put it on the bulletin board and let everybody see it?
We could do that.
Because on the minutes, may or may not be viewed, the bulletin board is.
Seriously? That's fine, that's fine. You,
Can't read now.
Karen will read them, you don't have to.
I think the other thing too, is it's not a policy. The guidelines for the architectural committee to use in trying to administer a program. Providing them some guidelines to use. So it's not, per se, like a policy, it's guidelines put in the architectural. For them to administer.
Well, they would give the developer something to hand out too.
And probably
Maybe follow.
Are there any other comments?
Can I just clarify, we're talking about fences that not, like, my fence, our back fence is wooden, but it's against.
That's a different category.
That's a different category.
Yeah, that's a boundary fence.
That's what they call a perimeter fence,
Perimeter fence.
where it exists between a garden's owned property or a garden's property and a non-garden's property.
Okay.
Those are not addressed in this issue at all.
Got it.
Any other comments on the proposed?
Got a good heavy gavel?
Beverly Shaw, Gardens View Drive. I appreciate what you've done here, Eva. I know it says fences may be located in the rear of the home. And when you drive down Holly Tree, that's true. I don't see the fences. But Bob Moore made a good point. The rear of all of these homes faces all our common area and our ponds. It will destroy the look of the gardens. I said that before, I'll say it again. But I appreciate what you try to do to satisfy people. It's not easy to do. I just like to maintain the look we have.
Thank you.
I know where you live.
Are you still listening?
I'll put that in the minutes, okay?
Well, as it was stated, I think David said, this is strictly a guide for the architectural committee to go by. It is in no means a policy. It's not going to be a DCCR or a policy or a bylaw. Since our DCRs do provide the possibility of building a fence through the architectural committee, it had to be addressed. And it's the only way we're going to come with any kind of cohesion at all. I have been informed that there is a memorandum of understanding between the Gardens HOA and the developer that states the rear fence must be 20 feet off the back property line. That may be the caveat that stops any fences from being in the common areas. So, once I find that MOU, we'll incorporate that into your, Billy?
It might help you in some way if you look into the landmarks commission, because in New York, where I'm from, landmark was involved in just this issue, how do you view properties, how do you maintain that visual look. And what they do is they take into consideration the view of that property from outside areas. And like in New York, you have to be across the street from the building and look up to it. And whatever you can see has to be maintained, but if it's off view, do modifications where that's necessary. You may want to adopt some of those policies or how they consider the property view, and this way you can see, from different parts of the community. It might help you.
Thank you, Steve?
Yes, I have a suggestion. Given the comments that we've gotten today, and it seems like there's maybe the possibility of needing a couple of modifications to the current proposal. I suggest we look at the proposals, decide whether or not we want to make any changes based on today's comments, and put that out to the community so they can see it. And then let's table any vote on this policy until next month.
Steve, unfortunately, you missed most of what you said. I think you wanted to comment on a proposal.
I'm going to apologize if my setup here is not working very well. Let's try this again. What I'm suggesting is that based on today's comments, we review the current proposal, decide whether or not any of today's comments need to be factored in, and put out the proposal to the community for their review and comment for the next 3 or 4 weeks, and table voting on this proposal until next month.
Thanks, Steve. I think I understood what you said. And no, there was no intention for a vote of any kind on approving anything this morning. Right now, it is still in its, the proposal is in its infancy, and we know that there's going to be modifications made, necessarily made. And yes, it will go out to the public before we agree that this is a permanent guideline or whatever for the architectural committee to go by. Does that answer your question, Steve?
Yes, it does.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Will policy number 1 be revised based on this guideline?
Let me check on that.
Policy 1 is fencing. Just look at it, see.
We'll have to look at that and see what needs to be done.
You have the guideline for the committee different than what's in the policy. That would be a conflict.
Right.
Be a problem.
Yes, it could be, yes.
So I would recommend that once you approve this guideline for the committee, then you take everything out of that policy that deals with fences.
Okay.
Okay?
Very well, thank you.
Just look at it and see what has to be done.
Will do.
Yeah, mine doesn't look like that. Is this what we're talking about, that document?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
First policy, architecture changes.
Okay.
Policy 1.
All right.
It's over to 12 and 13.
Yeah.
Page 3.
It's a long one. We'll have to look into all that. Like I said, this is strictly a preliminary guideline proposal. It's still in its infancy. We're still trying to review everything. See what comes out of it. There's no other comments. Bob?
Yeah, I guess, yeah. I know we've gone past the bridge thing, but, and I respect Dave Deming a lot because he's really good. But I really think that to make sure that a bridge is good, we should have an inspector who knows the codes and how things are built, okay, to actually come out and check that bridge. You don't, I mean, you never know, it's been there for what now, 7, 8 years? Okay, so you don't really know the construction behind it. I don't think there was ever any permits pulled on it. And according to Tennessee law, no matter if it's a walking bridge, it needs to have permits. Okay, so it wouldn't be such a bad idea to have a county inspector actually come out and check it to make sure it's a beautiful bridge, but it's gotta be safe.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Are you looking for an engineer to sign off on it?
Well, somebody should, yeah. I would think that an inspector should be signing off on it. He will know the codes and see how it's actually tied in to each bank. Thank you.
When I mentioned that Dave and I went and looked at that bridge, we were strictly looking at the safety issue of the floorboards. But I appreciate what you're saying, Bob. Would you be willing to look into that, see if you can find out who does that type of inspection?
Yeah, I pulled up some stuff on the computer this morning, and there is a phone number that you can call, like the county, and I'll get you that phone number.
Okay.
And I'll get you whatever I have on it. But there is somewhere, it's any walking bridge according to the state. Whether it goes over a blue line or not, even, if it went over a blue line, then there's lots of permits to be gotten. But you still need to have a permit to build a walking bridge.
Remote people will have a hard time hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, please get that information and we'll take it from there. Keep it, Dave.
One of the things that's been brought up recently, that Liz brought up, is that the requirements for building permits. And that's something that we're going to have to look at closely, because we're not sure what has, where people have gotten permits and where they haven't. If that bridge was built, first off, it should have had a required permit anyway. But did anybody ever apply for a permit? If they did, it's already permitted. That would be one of the things to look at. But there's other structures that have been built also that probably require permits. But again, we don't know for sure whether they permits were acquired. In the future, that's an item that we need to make sure that we're always checking to see if a permit is required for construction here in the gardens, because there is a permitting requirement.
Not 100% certain that we, as the board or the architectural committee, have any control over a city or county building permit.
No, only the.
No, I mean, not even telling somebody they have to have it. You cannot make it a requirement in our architectural.
Well, you can notify the owners.
Yes, and we can do that, but we don't want to get into the position of being the authority on the building permits.
But again, like that bridge, that was a mandatory.
It should have been, yes. Whether it was or not, I don't know.
Well, that should help us on our insurance too, if everything's built properly or got approved.
I'm not sure. I don't know. Right now, this is all speculation because the bridge doesn't belong to the HOA. Somewhere down the road it might. And by then I would like to have the answers as Bob and everybody is putting forward. In the meantime, it is strictly, the bridge is on property that's owned by the Gardens. The Gardens Inc. And they would be responsible for any liabilities on that bridge. So we're trying to be, I guess, proactive and in maybe possibly accepting this properties for HOA property down the road. It's not going to happen tomorrow, may not happen next year. We don't know when it's going to be done, but we'd like to be prepared so that we can react properly. Anything else on the bridge? No.
It's slippery too, when wet. I thought you were, when you said you're looking at the boards, it also gets very, to me, slippery when it's wet. I don't know if you're in a great paint, but I don't know.
Well, that slick piece of aluminum is even worse.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. I find it very slippery when wet.
You might address that to Tim Wilson. Send him a note. Next item is regarding the board of directors. Next May, 2 of us will have fulfilled our terms of duty, and we're needing persons to step forward to volunteer to run for the board. Our nominating committee is in the process of trying to recruit volunteers. Strongly suggest that we have a number of volunteers instead of just 1 or 2. We've gotten into this argument about people were appointed to the board, not elected. If we get 3 or more people for 2 vacancies, then it goes out to a vote from the community, and then we quell any arguments about being appointed or otherwise. So please, if you have any ambition at all, or if you're interested in helping to run this community, please step forward.
And Liz, do you give them the list of benefits of being on the board when you do that?
Yeah, especially the pay scale.
I'm the wrong person to ask this. I am the nominating chair, and I'd be glad to hear from anybody. All of us have different reasons, but it's just doing your part for being in the neighborhood. And I have really been blessed by the number of people that I've met and keep meeting. First of all, a lot of people walk up and go, "Oh, you're Liz Bowden," and they have the name tag. I don't know whether to smile or shake my head, but it's a demanding job, but it's a job that's really well worthwhile, and I think that this is going to become a much more typical board meeting. I'm thrilled to be serving with these people.
Thank you. Good job.
Thank you. Okay.
Hey, could there be a line, I'm sorry, could there be a line item where we can keep the person at their position instead of replacing them if they want to stay?
No, they have to go, it has to go out to a vote, or if, I'm trying to think of how, if there are no volunteers to step forward and run for office, and one of the persons or both of the persons whose terms are expiring, if they so chose to remain on the board, it would happen. I mean,
They had, any board member, any current board member could opt to run again.
Yes.
Okay, so that process takes care of that, because if you've got two positions, but you've got three people, that automatically kicks off the vote.
right,
So that board member would technically not be continuing,
no,
okay? He'd be re-voted,
really,
re-elected, okay? So I think our process takes care of that.
yes.
But I agree with you, I think we're gonna keep it.
Anybody would go.
I still don't see anybody volunteering. Moving on, we have a yard sale coming up this coming weekend, community yard sale. Just a reminder that for those who have not participated or want to participate, the guidelines for participation have been published on the bulletin board. The chairperson for that committee is in attendance. If she'd like to give us the number of persons who are signed up to participate.
At this point, we had 42 households participate.
That is a record.
42 households, great.
That is a record. And looking forward to good weather this weekend. Okay.
Not looking forward to the traffic.
Okay, we have a suggestion or a question from a member of the organization through the website regarding phases, any phase that may want to go off and form their own HOA. And this has been brought up numerous times over the years. One of the board members, I think, said it as well as it can be said. Let's see, let me find it here. I know that this is not a popular item with the board, but I'd like to add discussing doing a survey for phase 6 through 8, having their own HOA. The wording of the survey should make it clear that the board is in no way advocating, encouraging, it's cut off, to be done. Sure. There's been a lot of discussion about this, and some members have asked that the board address this issue and stop the rumors and innuendos from spreading throughout the gardens. I don't know if there are rumors and innuendos, maybe there are. And I do hear different people saying they think it should be divided. This board has worked tirelessly for the last 3 months to try to make this community one organization. That is our goal. And we do want to listen to the members. If the board, I'll open it to the board members here. If they feel that it's necessary to put out a survey to phases 6 through 8 to see if those phases want to secede from our DCRs or from our HOA and form their own, so be it. I don't think it's an issue. I don't think it should be done. I think it will be devastating to all phases monetarily.
I won't be treasurer.
If you were to split at the end of phase 5, both, I don't know about 6 and 8, 6 through 8 would have to do, but 1 through 5, I would estimate that the annual assessment here would have to double or more. So,
We've got all the expenses.
we do.
But
Yes.
then
I have had,
Yes.
let me rephrase that.
Yes.
We have had the most expenses in our area.
So,
But wouldn't 6 through 8 be required to go through all the legal processes to set up?
Oh, yeah.
an
yeah,
HOA?
yes, it would be be a very expensive venture on all of us.
Just to, first of all, you have to establish a charter, get it approved by the state of Tennessee before you proceed anything. So it'd be an interesting exercise.
Why, because they don't want to pay for, so all of us would have to pay. So then why even have an HOA? No kind of thing, you know what I'm saying? Well, then they're here, they moved here, they need to pay for it.
Well, we're trying to stop just exactly that.
Yeah, that's not fair to us.
Well, it doesn't make any sense.
It's not fair to anybody.
No, I know.
No, so that's why the thing I read from one of our members, that this board in no way endorses this.
But it's something that's been brought to the board and we need to, at least entertain the president.
Well, and that's the reason I don't want to bring it up, because it's been discussed. We have addressed all the other issues that have been neglected, and we're addressing them now, so we need to address this and let it be known, and people make a decision, and we're good. But if they're talking about it and not resolving anything, or it's not factual, then we're identifying it now and put it to rest. And we don't have to do anything else with it.
Well, the financial aspect would be the major issue. Telling you.
Yes.
But again, if it's discussed, people aren't looking at that.
Right.
And looking at what it would take. We have separate DCRs, so that's one.
Yeah, okay, that part is good. But the actual aspect of establishment of HOA in the state of Tennessee is very interesting.
Right.
So you got to go through that process before you can get to DCR.
Yes.
And the other thing, and the reason I brought Linda, said I'm glad I'm not going to be treasurer if this does happen, is the timing. Let me give you an example. Let's say we're in the mid of the assessment period. So it happens. The majority of the people would be due a refund immediately for that 6-month period that they may have already paid for, especially if they did an annual payment, okay? Wow, you talk about depleting the treasury.
No, that was part of my statement that said that our future assessment would be at least double. Did you have something?
I guess, my view on it is, I fully understand the economics completely. And, but the other part of this is, I think that this board is making major strides toward accommodating the whole community. And the efforts that are ongoing right now with the developer, a great many of those efforts right now are 6, 7, and 8. There's a lot of issues up there that are being addressed right now. And those are going to continue for some time because phase 8 is not completed. And until phase 8 is completed, we don't know what that'll be, there are still outstanding issues out there that are going to have to be managed by the board. Just a minor one is the pond up there and the embankment and the maintenance after that. There's a lot of issues that have to be addressed up there. And it's more than rolling. But my opinion is, I think that the board's done an excellent job over the last several months. And I would ask that we table the issue and allow the board to continue to operate at least through this term, which would be up in May. And then if the community wants to relook at this, okay. I think you should allow the board
at least until May to prove itself, I guess. And also to address any issues that are outstanding out there. Like I said, there's an awful lot yet to come that are all, the majority of them are 7 and 8 more than anything else. And a lot that has to be done, and a lot has to be addressed. There's a lot of unanswered questions about where 8 is going to go, if it even is going to expand into the, there's 2 more sections that were pre-approved to be expanded into. We do not know at this time whether they're ever going to be expanded into those sections or not. But there's still work, a lot of work has to be done on, especially on the other end of 8.
So what is their,
Can you please come forward? Take your time, we got all the days. Thank you.
Julie Baker, College Tree Drive. So what is their complaint at this point? Is it still that they're not getting any benefit from being in the HOA? Is that
That's
their
what
main
I'm hearing.
concern?
That's what I'm hearing. Yeah.
So if none of the monies of, very little of the monies are being spent in 6, 7, and 8,
Well, that used to be, but we've spent quite a bit of money this year on that area.
for what?
Well, the sidewalk was put in, completed from the bridge or close to.
50% of it.
Okay, that was done. And I was on the board when we authorized that. We got all kinds of holy about it, but anyway.
There's significant participation in the website and bulletin board by the Holly Tree.
So, and we were maintaining the pond back there. And actually had aquatic control doing their bit back there.
They still are.
But, yeah, they still are, but I think that could probably be changed next budget cycle. But anyway, there was an attempt by the previous board to do some work back there. Because we went to an attorney and we discussed the issue in the DCRs about not maintaining. The DCR says you can't maintain stuff you don't own. Okay? And that, a lot of people say the HOA doesn't own anything back there, you can't spend any money back there. And the attorney says, wait a minute. If that would go to court, that wouldn't hold water. Because you're a big community and everybody could get some benefit out of the whole community. Okay? And so if any work is done in those areas that is a betterment for the community, you can spend that money. Now, this was from an attorney, okay?
Well,
But then again, all I'm saying is the previous board went with that and it was not,
that's why they're not here.
it was not looked up. That's why that board's not here.
Right.
So be it, okay?
So they feel that they're not getting anything for all their maintenance fees, that their dues that they're paying for the HOA.
In the past, that has been a complaint, yes.
So evidently, there isn't a whole lot of budgeted money going back there, so they probably do have a point about that.
Well,
But if,
just to address what.
but if 6, 7, and 8 goes out, that means you're gonna have probably 95% of the same expenses and 50%
Of the income.
of the income.
That's why I stated earlier, it would be
It's gonna be
devastatingly expensive.
Double, probably double.
But that's, we're not advocating it be done.
But I'm saying that's gonna be the consequences if 6, 7, and 8 go off on their own.
And I think too.
1 through 5 are the ones that are gonna suffer.
Something to be considered too is, this is the third month this board has been seated. And a lot has taken place in 3 months. A lot of positive has taken place. I guess I would ask those who are upset with it to, like David said, give the board a chance to try to finish out the year and, see where we go. Ed has established some really good channels of communication with Tim, and there are positive things happening. And I would hate to lose 6, 7, and 8.
Well, and I agree, but the other thing is, if anybody has an issue in the past, they were reluctant to bring it to a member.
Right.
I feel now we are very receptive to
Right,
any
absolutely
suggestions.
willing to
So
hear.
please come forward, and you don't have to do it in public, just.
Yeah.
What your, and in your discussion about what money is spent, the board has already taken action on the 2, actually 4 lots on Longgate that if we took over, we would have requirements to maintain. We've negotiated those 4 lots to be given, to go over to the adjoining owners. That alleviates that cost from the board.
So therefore, there's less that the board's even paying for back there.
Right, when we took it over, we would be paying for that. And there's an effort to try to do more of that, wherever we can eliminate cost, and which, so as to not have to raise.
See, there's a downside of that too, David. Downside is, if those individuals who obtain those lots, they're lots, but they're not, well, they're platted actually, but they're green space. If they become owned lots by each party on each side, they will be assessed for those lots. But they have the option to merge those lots. And when they merge the lot, that assessment goes away. Because DCR says a lot gets one assessment.
Gail says, is anybody assessed on those 2 lots that are considered green space and drainage, city drainage?
Not us.
Who's?
Pardon me?
Okay, and what is the assessment on that?
I have no idea.
15%?
No, wait. There's no assessment on it.
Right.
So we're not.
They pay taxes on it.
Right,
Somebody
but
pays
there's
taxes.
there's no HOA assessment.
No.
Okay, so we're not losing it. So we're not losing the dime.
My point was not that, but when they become a platted lot for that owner, then they will be assessed. Okay? Because it becomes the property then of an HOA member.
Right, so the assessment's the same, right?
No, stop, hold it. Let me explain something. There are 2 lots, not 4, 2, that are being divided amongst 4 people. And they will be merged into their properties. They're not being assessed now, they won't be assessed in the future. The only thing that would happen is if the HOA took over those lots, we would be paying taxes on them. And we're getting out of that.
You have an online member that wants to talk.
Steve wants to
Steve? Oh. Go ahead, Steve.
All right, this is, hopefully this is gonna work a little better. I'm gonna say that there are, in my opinion, some very potentially disastrous ramifications of a separate HOA board for 6, 7, and 8. I will just bring up one. So does this imply we put a gate at the boundary between 1 through 5 and 6, 7, and 8? and you have to have a code to get through it. And so the 6, 7, and 8 folks can't come in off the main entrance. You know, that's
The city street.
that's an interesting question, because if they're a separate HOA and they're going to take care of their own maintenance of stuff and everything, well, should they be allowed to come in the front entrance?
They're
That's
city
a crazy
streets.
question.
We're not hearing you. Should
There'd
be.
never be a toll put on these streets.
The city street.
They're city.
Steve,
I forgot so much from that street. You can't.
the streets are owned by the city, and we would never be allowed to put up a toll gate or any kind of a gate on any street in the subdivision. So that part is
Well, dark smooth.
Yeah, except, let me continue on here. So that means, yeah, and I'm being maybe facetious here, but I'm trying not to be. So if we have separate HOAs, but the HOA, the folks from 6, 7, and 8 can make use of the common areas and whatever in 1 through 5, but they're not going to be paying for any of that maintenance or improvements or whatever. That seems unreasonable. I could make that case. So I believe we need to figure out how to put to bed this issue of a separate HOA for 6, 7, and 8, because to me, the ramifications of that are untenable. I don't think we even appreciate what they are.
Well, it's well taken, Steve, and that goes right along with what we were saying, that it would be devastating for all concerned.
Okay, so what would it hurt to know what the people in 6, 7, and 8 want? Okay, it's a simple survey, okay, then we know. If they want it, fine, if they don't want it, then it's gonna be let it be. Why, with this technology that we have, that we can ask the people that we're gonna make a decision up here of how the people feel. Oh, all right, I mean, everybody's got their own feeling towards this, but let the people back there decide. Okay, if they're the ones that are complaining about Tim Wilson not doing this, and if Tim Wilson doesn't do it, we can always do it and charge him 30%. Okay, I mean, that's all in there too, right? I mean, that's been in there for years. So, but I mean, let the people decide. It's just as easy as doing a survey. Hopefully it will come out this time, because the last one didn't work. But let the people answer that question.
I think the people in phase 1 through 5 should be part of the survey, because we are affected also.
Well, I think so too. I think there should be 2 surveys. Does 1 and 5 want them to go away? And does 6, 7, and 8 want to go away? Okay, so I mean, that should be, it's a technology thing now. It's just a simple survey, let the people speak.
Yeah, but we got to admit, that pond up there's got no rocks around there, no place to sit down. We could spend some money and fix up, we got our few lakes here, they should have that lake up there.
It's not our property. And all these rocks around these ponds around here, they were back in the day, they were put in by all the homeowners. They dropped the rocks off, the homeowners put them in. Okay, so that's the way that these ponds were established. Everybody thinks that 1 through 5 just moved in here and everything was all set to go. There was dirt roads in here when this thing was being made. Okay, so I mean, it takes years and years of putting all of this together. It's just not a simple thing. Oh, the pond has got rocks around it. Let's go. It wasn't that way. Okay, you know, there wasn't fountains, there wasn't anything. I mean, it's just the way it is, but let the people speak. I mean, we let the people speak on like how we're gonna vote for the board members. So let the people speak on how they feel, if they want to succeed or not. Thank you.
Bill, we had discussed that pond, which I know where it is, right down the road. The first effort was to try to get it so that it's some maintenance being done, which is being done. It is being mowed, and some of the other areas are being taken care of. As far as making that a more aesthetically looking, appealing thing, that'll happen eventually. But it'll probably be another couple of years before we actually take over the ownership of that pond and start being able to maintain it. And if we do, then we can do things like if you want to put benches up, or if you want to build a gazebo, we can do that. But at this point, it's still a part of the phase.
I thought we owned it and we didn't own the big waterfall.
No. And it's the same way with a couple of other areas that need to be done and stuff. On the intersection there on the far side, that corner lot. That lot is supposed to be a finished lot with a mailbox unit there and everything. Once that happens, we'll end up taking that over and have to mow and maintain that as well. And we're not sure what's going to happen on the 2 lots on this side yet. Could be the same thing. But there's a lot yet to be done on that. Even the area, I call it the Rocky Mountain Fountain area. That whole area, if you look to see how large it is, it goes way up behind Holly Tree on the right-hand side. That's a large area. Eventually, we're going to end up with probably taking that over. So that's all in age. And there's other areas too. So I think that down the road, the distribution of what we're paying for in maintenance, it's going to hit in the area of 6, 7, 8, that's going to go up. Back behind Mr. Ward's house. Down that hill down through there. That's all going to be, that's an issue that we're already addressing.
Yes.
What to do with all that area behind it. That's 7 and 8. So I think that as time goes on, maybe not this year, but I would bet going into at least 2027, you're going to see an increased cost of maintenance 7 and 8. So I think some of the things you're talking about will get more.
George and Darrell. I think that one of the responsibilities is up to Tim. And before we take over any property, he needs to bring it up to the standard that we accept it. So I don't mind spending money in the back, but it should be brought up to a standard. For us to go over there and start doing all the stuff that Tim should be paying for is where I have a problem. So I think that we need to get with Tim, and maintaining it is not a problem after it's presented to us in an acceptable way. Just like everything in the sections up here, it was brought up to a standard before we accepted it. So Tim needs to do a lot of work, and he needs to bring it up to a standard that we can accept. Maintaining it once it's up to a standard is fine, but bringing in fill, we pay for it or take care of something that, cleaning it up, it's Tim's responsibility. That's what I look at.
And that's part of Ed's negotiations that he's working on right now. He's already addressing that with Tim. It's already being addressed.
Right, but the problem is that, 6, 7, 8 feels like they're not getting anything paid for.
All right,
but
let me just make one more statement here, then I'll start. 8 is a completely unfinished section. Okay? And it's until 8 is finished, a lot of this can't happen. So we can talk about
doing something with Holly Tree Pond. But from those houses right there, that direction, it's a completely unfinished section 8. So we're trying to push ahead when we ahead quicker than we need to. But in the negotiations that Ed and the others are doing, they've already addressed with him, and working with him on that to make sure that things are brought up to standards, they are acceptable. We're already in that mode, we understand that, but we're not gonna take it over and do any maintenance on it prior to we get ownership. That's still gonna be up to Tim to do, and he's doing that right now.
So there's no way we can spend money if nothing's brought up.
But we're not.
So I don't think that they should feel that we're not spending money back there.
We're not proposing to spend it.
Okay, well, just where. No, I think that's a point.
Yeah.
Let me clarify something that I neglected to mention in an earlier topic here. Regarding the Holly Tree Pond and the property next to Thunderbird on the corner, the one you referred to. Hopefully by the end of this week, you're going to see some machines back there moving dirt. Tim has ordered to put as much as 4 inches of topsoil on the property on the corner and seed it and straw it. And he's also going to add some fill to the Holly Tree Pond lot and top it off with a pile of dirt that's there that's now covered with all weeds. So all that's going to happen as we scheduled originally by the end of October. Hopefully we stay on schedule, but it is weather and other things to come into play. But we're still on schedule to accomplish that by the end of this month. I was in the office the other day when he advised Odie, and he also has hired a contractor to start accomplishing some of this. So we're working on it. Somewhere down the road, if Tim gets to a point where the properties are looking right, he's also mentioned that he would rip wrap the pond, okay? And if it gets that far, it looks like that the HOA could possibly enter into some type of agreement to work together with the developer to get the electric panel and the fountain placed in that pond. Once that's done, it's a possibility that he could present it to the HOA for acceptance. And that's where it stands. We got a lot going on. Got a lot of things working in the background that I know they don't appear, but someday it might just all show up, hopefully.
I would like to make a motion that I understand that there's been a question on the HOA thing. I would like to make a motion that would table this topic and allow the board to continue to work and negotiate with Tim and get through this process to try to start changing that. First of all that negotiation would have to stop. And we don't want that to happen. So I would move that we table this topic at least until April or March or April, and then take a look at it again and see if we really need to do anything other than continue. I think the board is doing everything it can do at this point to be successful in addressing the issues of 6, 7, and 8.
I second.
I guess you made the motion. Is it, and your second, Dennis, second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Steve. Any opposed? Motion carried. The only other item I have on here is, Dick, how do we go about adding an omitted committee to the website?
Just ask.
Okay. Somehow the Sunshine Committee has been lost from the website. I was wondering if we can get that back in there, please.
It was requested to be removed. I'll be happy to put it back.
Oh, I didn't know it had been removed.
I didn't take it off. I mean, I did take it off, but it was a request. It was, I'm not sure, I don't remember,
Okay.
but I wouldn't take it off without asking.
Okay.
If you want it back, we're happy to put it back.
Well, I was gonna ask you to put it back, and then I also received a email from the chairperson, and she would like to see it back on there. So if you would, please.
Okay,
Appreciate it. And do you have the names and stuff that goes in there?
I'll figure it out.
Okay. I have them if you need.
Okay, if you have them.
Very good. Is there any other items that board members feel like they need to discuss? That being the case, I'd like to see if is there anything further that the audience wants to discuss with the board?
If I'm replacing my driveway, removing the concrete and replacing it, do I need approval from the board?
No, I don't think so. You're
Just don't dump it down at the end of June.
You may very well have to have a building permit to do that. Yeah,
The driveway.
I know.
City's got to.
But
I gotta go get a permit.
I'm saying it's very possible.
Contractor should get a permit.
Check with the city.
You'll have to check with the city codes enforcement on that. I'm not going to say you have to. I'm saying you may need to.
Person that's doing it.
Check with the other contractor. Check.
Yeah, and your contractor should know if they have license.
I work in California and New York, they need a permit to remove a driveway and put it back, so.
Yeah.
If the driveway's not structured, you're not extending it, replace it.
Right. I understand. Anything else? In that case, like, oh, sure. That's on the next page. Our next regular board meeting will be on November 11th, 2025 at 9:30 a.m. here in the clubhouse. Will also be a virtual meeting. So with that being said,
I'll make the motion just during the meeting.
I'll second
hey,
I-
opposed? Motion carried. Meeting is adjourned.
And Ed, if you need a place to sleep tonight, we can.
Got a speaker that I need. Now, speaker.